Welcome to Band Scamps, an in-depth look at albums and releases by West Michigan artists. Hosted by Dan Fisher and Julio Gomez. This week on Band Scamps, Dan and Julio review Carved Out Space, Meditations in Time by Low Order, and Motel by Pawl and Types.
Welcome to Band Scamps, Episode 3. My name is Dan Fisher. I am joined by my co-host, Julio Gomez.
Hey, Dan.
How's it going?
Good. How are you, man?
I'm good. This is the show where everyone's a critic, but not everyone is a scamp.
But we are.
But we are quite the scamps.
Uh-huh. So in this case, both of us.
Right. It's so funny to think of yourself as a scamp.
I looked up scamp today when I was looking up some meme ideas, and there was a few that were like, okay, that's definitely, I did not think was a scamp, but it is. Or it makes me think of a devil that's smiling. Isn't that a character? Little devil?
Yeah.
Red hot?
Yeah, that's right. Email us at bandscamps@gmail.com and let us know what you think is a scamp. Give us a scamp example.
We need some we need some examples.
Scamples.
We need as many examples as you can get to us.
Yeah, we'll take written description, photo, video, anything goes.
It is the evening of Friday, February 5th. It's snowing like crazy here in Grand Rapids.
It is wild. It is the snow that we didn't ask for, but it's the snow that we deserve.
You said you're not even gonna bother shoveling at all.
Nah, man, I'm good.
we shoveled for a little bit, and it seems fruitless, but you know what? It actually, I think it does something.
It does help, but
I don't want that crunchy, icy shit.
First record today is by Low Order. Name of the record is called "Carved Out of Space: Meditations in Time," and it was released on May 16 of 2020. So pretty early into quarantine.
Into quarantine and pandemic. We haven't really decided an official date of the start of the pandemic or quarantine as far as our little world goes. I know my last day of work I think was around March 12th or 13th.
Mine was also March 13th.
So maybe we should let's just say March 1st is when this whole thing started, because we were aware of it. I was even thinking of, this is crazy. Do you remember the Jammies last year? Did you go?
I did not go to the Jammies.
Did you not go because of the pandemic?
I did not. I just didn't want to go.
Okay. I think we actually didn't go because we thought some shit was going down. And it seemed weird. I remember being bummed about it because I wanted to check out the new venues down there.
Yeah.
The intersections, 2 new places.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That was the first Jammies with those spots.
Yeah, I wanted to go to the Jammies to check out the new venues in the intersection basement, but I was too scared of getting sick.
I honestly don't. I think I was pretty clueless up until maybe end of February. I think maybe I was washing my hands a lot, but I didn't really understand how severe it was yet.
So March sounds I think that sounds fair. Jammies are end of February.
Yeah,
let's say March 1st.
Yeah, let's roll with that.
So you said May 16th on this record.
May 16th.
Yeah, that is pretty early on. Okay, so May 16th.
May 16th. Low Order. This is a solo project by Justin Gray. Again, full disclosure, we do know Justin personally from previous projects.
We need to have a disclosure warning. I think when this comes up from now on, we should have
a really
oh yeah, it's got to be abrasive.
Yeah.
So just full disclosure.
We know Justin.
Yes. I don't know him that well.
He was my roommate for a little bit.
No longer roommate.
No longer roommate.
I think I actually knew you all were living together at one point.
I did not know that he was working on a project, though. I knew that he makes music, but I didn't know that he was planning on releasing anything.
This is their first record then?
Yeah, this is the first release by him as Low Order.
Okay. May 16th, Low Order. And let's just do first impressions.
First impressions for me is it's definitely like in my current wheelhouse. I'm into synthesis, ambient stuff. So right away, like it catches my attention.
Go on. I want to before I chime in. I want to hear more
Sure.
about your first impression. If that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I was really excited to listen to this because I only know Justin as a guitarist. So hearing him as a synth player was really interesting, and kind of knowing a little bit about his actual setup. But about the music, though, I was just really excited because it's something different.
Sure, different than what he usually does,
Exactly.
which is has been more in like the rock and kind of indie rock.
Yeah, indie rock or almost emo-y.
I clicked out to look at the art on here.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
so I'll go first impressions then. These are
Yeah.
long tracks. I can
They
tell.
are very long.
I wish I could like just hear the way that things are now. I can see how long a song is before I play it. Like if it's on Bandcamp or on Spotify or something.
Right.
I can see, and sometimes I wish that wasn't the case. But these are long songs, right?
I know what you mean, yeah. Even like if it was like on vinyl or something, you'd still be able to see it was long though. But I think no, when you start listening to the type of music, it will kind of make sense on why they're so long.
Sure. And so as this gets going, I'm listening to this, and it becomes clear that this is going to be more of maybe like it's definitely instrumental. I'm getting the feel, and it's definitely on the slower side of things, and maybe this might even be like considered ambient music.
I would definitely classify
for better
it as
for better or
ambient.
for worse.
Yeah, ambient, minimalist, improvisational. I think that's the impression I kind of get from it is that
Uh-huh.
he maybe had a set of notes that he had in mind, or like a certain sound, and then he kind of built off of it.
Well, it's really minimal. It's really minimal, and that goes for sound and also like even musicality in the first few minutes of this listen. And then so as I'm just curious, I look and see, okay, these are long songs, and I see on here it does say something along the lines of these tracks were recorded in one take to tape, something like that.
Yeah, minimal production.
And that's just on the Bandcamp. That's just on this whatever medium that we're using to share music these days, which most of the bands agree is probably one of your better options. It's free.
Mm-hmm.
It's got decent quality download and pay options, whatever.
Easy interface.
But it does say in a space that's usually reserved for credits, it just says each track recorded in one take, direct to tape with minimal post production editing. Is this record available like in general distro? Do you know?
No, it's
Okay.
just on Bandcamp.
Okay, and that's fine too. I don't give
Yeah.
a shit if you have like I'm not a purist in that way. I don't think
Sure.
But there is some degree of like, oh, how can I listen to your record?
Right.
If it's just Bandcamp. So it being just on Bandcamp, it does offer me this little condition here. Each track is recorded on one take direct to tape with minimal post-production editing. So I know this about this. So my first impression is like, did this takes about as long to listen to as they worked on it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
In I guess performance wise, yes. I think just because of the medium he's using, it probably took a lot of preparation. He's using modular synths.
I had like a feeling that it was something that maybe I don't know about the synths.
Yeah. I think in some people who are familiar with synthesizers, they would listen to this and they would just know.
Really?
Yeah, I would know.
That's something that I think is so. We're still on track one, but this is a long record, so track one is going to be track one. But this is something too that I think your statement that people who know synths will know what's going on, what he's doing.
Yes.
To a certain extent, you think? At least.
Yeah, if they know synths, if they know ambient music, they will be familiar with the kind of sounds they're gonna experience.
So,
in
as
this
someone
record.
who's basically getting into or is into or whatever degree you are, you know this, not just knowing it. Would you know that if he didn't tell you?
Yeah,
There's like some esoteric knowledge involved here.
definitely. Yeah, I think it kind of goes in the same direction to, I guess, with any kind of instrument. I'm trying to think of a good example. Like, it's getting harder just because instruments are so, like, electronic instruments are so good now. Like, I think at one point you could tell a difference between like an electric piano and a not one.
Well,
but
yeah.
I feel like now, like,
But I mean, these are going to be
strong.
distinctions that are going to be reserved for people who are into that instrument specifically, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be like, oh, I can tell that's a whatever guitar.
I think there's like a higher level of like nerdism maybe with this kind of music, with ambient music. It's hard to stand out in this genre, in my opinion.
This is a tough genre.
Yeah.
This is a weird genre to critique because to a certain extent, I think everybody likes this genre. They don't realize it, you know?
Right.
But they do like it. It's in film scores. It's in all sorts of stuff. It's just sometimes even just a good tone of something humming, some machinery in the background can be pleasant, you know?
Exactly. Just like all the people who fall asleep to white noise, you basically are the biggest ambient fan of all time.
This music is also hard to talk about and criticize, not only because universally most people on a basic level like it, but also it's really, really hard to critique because what it's trying to do is itself questioning what is music, right? And what is art and what is enjoyable.
Yeah. But at the same time, I think a lot of people get the impression when they listen to very minimal stuff is that I could do this. You know, it's kind of like a Jackson Pollock kind of thing.
100%. And that's like, I think it's so funny because like, you know, I could do this, but you did. Like, you know, I think like that's a thought I had lately was a quote that was like, I could do that, signed person who didn't, you know?
Right.
Like, yeah, I could do that, but you didn't. And this person did, and they're being paid for it or whatever.
Yeah. Hey,
so,
man. Yeah. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Okay. So that's all fine. And I will agree this is a hard type of music.
Yeah.
You know, to talk about, but we're going to do it, and we have to grade it on this. On, you know, now we're getting into like on what qualifications we grade this on, because I think we have to just go by music. Like this is a music podcast, you know.
Yeah, and that's like the difficult thing is because like the musicality of it is, I think at times hard to find.
I think I agree. I think it loses me. There's a few times I like it, and I think these songs are so long, and I don't like. We're gonna listen to this and talk about this in like 4 times the amount of time it took for him to make it. So
yeah,
like that's hilarious to me because congratulations on that.
Yeah, that's a really funny point that I never even considered. It's just like the actual duration of making the music.
I mean, like, not to compare with the next album too much, but how much time do you think, how many hours went into the next album that we're going to critique? Thousands.
Oh man, so many.
Thousands of hours.
Yeah.
And then we're talking about a record here that took just about as much time to make as it took us to listen to it.
Right.
And it's only going to take me 45 minutes to listen to that 1,000-hour record.
Right.
But it's going to take me 45 minutes or whatever to listen to this one.
Here's the thing with ambient music is what replaces the kind of musicality of it is the sound design.
Okay.
And that's like where you kind of have to judge it in some ways. Maybe not for our podcast, like being a music.
I mean, I'm okay with you
podcast,
taking the position. That's how we have to how you're going to critique it. I don't have to follow that.
Yeah.
You
no.
know?
That's
but
kind of
I'm definitely comfortable with you taking that position.
Yeah. And I think that's where people kind of don't count the preparation is like really he spends hours putting together this modular synthesizer setup and then finding sounds.
So are you gauging, do you know that's what he's doing, or are you getting that from the sound?
That's
you
just
know
how,
what I mean?
That's just how
that's just how it is.
That's just how modular synths work, is that you just have like an oscillator that produces
I know how they work.
Yeah. But then you just have different synths that do different like things like reverb or filters.
Okay. So all that's cool. All that process is very, very cool. Mm-hmm. And like one thing I did write, this is about so I have written my first 3 notes are this was made in the same amount that it takes to listen to. Mm-hmm. And I said like it's interesting what people decide to do with drum machines. You know, and I understand
Yeah.
these aren't drum machines, but I kind of use that term kind of generally.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
And then I wrote, is this more interesting to gearheads?
100%.
Would this be more interesting if this was from the 1800s? You know?
Right, like if with like different instruments.
Just that was hyperbole. Would this be more
Yeah.
interesting if it was made in the 60s? Would this be more interesting if it was made in the 40s?
Maybe, because there's
Same thing.
There's craft work.
I'm saying well, I mean, craft work's not 40s though.
But like
You know? They're old. They're 70s.
Yeah, and like it was interesting then, but I think it's almost gotten
But this is
nowhere.
this is nowhere near the quality of songwriting or of craft work. Like
No.
But I'm saying, but there was experimental electronic music. So like this is more interesting to gearheads. That's confirmed.
Yes.
Like, would this be more interesting if this was made in the past? You know, too.
Right.
Which is not to say you have to be like cutting edge or upfront
No,
with the music.
it's just a cool perspective to kind of think about.
So let's judge it on your terms.
Well, more going back to like the musicality part of it, like right away, on the first listen, I listened to this when this first came out, and when I listened to it again today, it doesn't like grab me in right away.
Right.
It starts out very slow, but you could albums do that all the time, and it's fine. But I don't know, just I'm not like absolutely pumped about where the song's going.
Yeah,
right away.
The length to me is like an obstacle too, because nothing about the length of these songs really like the length didn't serve any purpose to it. You know, it could have been 2.5 minutes long, and I think it would have been as effective.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think that this album was made as kind of a study of sound and not necessarily meant to be listened to as entertainment, really more kind of like a background kind of thing.
Right.
Because when I listen to something like this,
but then why put it out?
I think it's just kind of like the passion of any kind of person. Like,
I didn't mean to interrupt you. So you're saying,
yeah,
but when you put this on or you listen to this,
yeah, when I listen to this, like I just listen to it differently than I would with pop music or rock music. I'm listening to more of the sound design and trying and kind of almost listening to what's between the notes even, and not really trying to necessarily find that melody right away. It's more kind of just like trying to find that feeling, that atmosphere.
This kind of music was really, really, really big and still is pretty big in Chicago. And especially when I was in school there between 2000 and 2004, I think around 2002, up until then, there was a place called the Nervous Center in Chicago that was a theater under a coffee shop, and you'd go down there and there'd be a guy on a laptop just fucking around making noise. So yeah. I'm no stranger to this music.
Sure.
Like, I've been around this for a long, long, long time. I mean, even the label we were on, 1980, is known for this kind of for ambient music.
Oh yeah,
experimental music.
We're the weird band,
and we're the pop band that's on there. So I'm no stranger to this kind of music at all, and I think I am open and willing to assess it at those terms. But I think my critique is going to be even harsher. I almost think that if I judge this as music in the traditional sense as we know it and most of our listeners know it, it's probably going to be a more favorable view than if I talk about it as experimental music and high art, which it's trying to be and is I think really failing at.
And let's start there. Like, where does it like fail? Like, what's like the first part it's like failing at?
This kind of music, I don't see a time where this kind of music is going to benefit what it's trying to do in a way that another band that is better couldn't just do. I don't see where on my roster of listening to this kind of music this fits in.
Yeah.
And like, it's not that it's bad or that the artistry behind it is not good. I just think that this kind of seems like either I'm being pranked or something, or like it makes me question, like, is this what he listens to? And that's where I wonder, like, when I said like, then why put this out? That's almost where I feel like this almost feels like it's just not quite something that needs to be put out.
Yeah, I think one thing that I noticed that I kept on asking myself while listening to this, and I don't know if it's just because I'm a musician or if I'm like into this kind of music and this kind of like synthesis, but there's a lot of times it's like, would I do the same thing, or like what would I change about this? And I think that's like a really maybe isn't not a good sign when you're listening to music, is just when you keep on asking yourself, what would I do differently?
Yeah, I mean, and I've written down here, is this meant to be listened by the audience, or is this just for the artist, like a process thing? So it's the exact same thing you're talking about, you know. Like I'm left with these questions, and that's okay too. Like if the music is meant for me to question stuff, then okay, I think you're doing that, you know.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it's for me. Will this blow someone's mind, you know?
I don't know.
That maybe that's a good question.
That is a really good question.
Like, well, this it's easy to be jaded, man. You know, like straight up, man. I like Nervous Center shit. I saw some of the weirdest, freakiest crap that when I was like 17 blew my mind because I didn't know you could get a show as a guy on a laptop with a projector that's just strobing at people. You know, I didn't know that was a thing you could do that people would pay for.
Yeah,
but it is.
It is,
and this kind of wants to be that, but obviously it's mellow. You know. But like, it's so hard to critique music that lacks structure.
Yeah, I think
it's so hard to decide if this is hard to critique or if I just don't like it. You know, too.
I think you nailed it with the idea of that it's just like part of his process. I think that he is, you know, studying sound, and he's like, I'm going to record this, and I just kind of want to share, you know, my toys basically.
So. This work, even as it stands, it could even be, even if it was like a matter of like, what if like track one was just chopped up exactly how it is, but like every 30 seconds it's a new track, and it's like 20 tracks of that, you know? I would even be like, okay, that's kind of dope.
And I actually have some notes about that too, just like how I would have been interested more if this was all just one long song and there was more.
Okay.
You know, and just everything kind of morphed into itself and morphed into different parts of the song. Or, you know, he like split it up by tracks, but it's all just one take. I would really like, I think that would be more interesting. I think that would show a more mastery of your craft.
I really enjoyed track 4, Where Are You? I think this is what, if I were to recommend one off this album, I would pick that one.
I think that one, I would also pick that one, and then next it would be, I think is it the last one, 5?
Advanced Plant Habitat.
Yeah, that one is the most successful because it does come in with a heavy bass and drum beat later on in the song.
Yeah, that was nice. I actually listened to this one. This was the one I listened. This was a 3-parter. Like I listened to track 1, turned it off, went back to it, turned it off, and I had to finish track 5. And I listened to that as we were setting up, and that one was good too.
Yeah, and I find it a shame that we get to that point right at the end of the record, because that's like when I heard that, I was like, this is what I want the entire time.
Yeah. So that even kind of felt maybe a little bit of a tease letdown, or is it?
Yeah, does
it make you hopeful?
I think both.
Okay.
Like bummed out because like I was vibing to it, but hopeful that maybe he goes in that direction for future releases.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that this person is going to be done making music by any means, right? So, and this is just kind of a blip of release.
Yeah.
Let me think some other positives. I thought even here I have this. So this is funny. I have notes. I've got like all those things I just said on here. I do have should have never given white people drum machines on here too, which is probably too harsh, but this is a thought that I've had a lot of time. White folks, you can make funky bedroom pop music with your drum machines. I know there's always a tendency to stay away from that, but go for it. I mean, just get funky.
Dude, it's so fun.
Totally. But that's a note I have, and I know it's racist, but it's a note that I have. I mean, whatever.
It's out there now.
Hey, I'm half white.
Hey, you know,
I'm half white.
Just scamping.
I'm half white. I'm a scamp. Yeah. Half white, half Latino, 100% scamp. 100%
100. Yeah.
100% that scamp. There's our first Instagram post. We got to make a good one.
Oh my gosh,
it's gonna be like
that's our first bumper sticker.
Lisa Frank. It should be like Lisa Frank.
Yeah.
100% that scamp.
We got to do something too with like the Calvin peeing. or
Oh,
something.
totally. On us. Is this being on our heads?
Yeah, or just like peeing on the logo.
Yeah, that's pretty good actually. We'll work that out.
Yeah.
What else do we like about this record?
I think further in, it definitely shows more mastery of it. I think the first track for me is more just kind of him turning knobs on the reverb and just kind of finding different cool effects. But I think he actually does find some actual depth later on in tracks 3 and 4. To points
I think you're
where-
right. I think that track 4 I really liked, and then it's only 5 tracks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was saying what I was getting to before. I have all these notes, right? All these notes. I have like, I even say, I want this to be over or get better.
Yeah.
I wrote, is this meant to be listened to by blah, blah, blah? Is this hard to critique? And then I wrote, track 2 is a little better. So let me just say that.
It's such a stream of consciousness.
Well, to Low Order, that's like 15 different notes and sentences that range from like critique to liking this to racist stuff to other what is art all in one track.
Yeah.
So you did make me ask myself those questions. And even though I'm being kind of forced to because it's my podcast, I still am choosing to undertake to answer those questions.
Right. So on another level then, what are your thoughts about, people who put out music and I guess put out the impression that they don't really like necessarily care if people hear it or
oh man, that could be a whole
like it. You know,
that's a whole subject of a show.
You know, do you know what I mean though? Because I feel like it's out there and it's not necessarily
you can only release something once.
Yeah.
You know,
but it's not even like I don't necessarily get the impression that it's out there to like impress me. You know?
No, it doesn't care. It wants it at the very least wants you to think he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Does he care? That's a whole different thing.
And like
that's a whole different thing.
Yeah,
I'm sure he does.
is.
I'm sure he does. Everybody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody doesn't care. Even people who act like they don't care, like Prince. Like how much did Prince actually care? So
I'm sure he
fucking
cared.
so fucking hard, dude. Prince was anti-drugs and died of a drug overdose, dude. Prince cared. You know, he wanted to act like he was Mr. Aloof about everything, but it was all intentional.
No, he's
and
just
people
an
are all
artist.
like that. Well, he's totally an artist. Yeah, great. Good, more power to him. But I mean, that could be like this here too. So does he want us to? He submitted it to Band Scamps.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you think that he knows that we're going to critique it hard and seriously? Probably. He knows. He doesn't know me. He doesn't know me very well, but
I think he knows
he
you
knows
well
me
enough.
He knows me enough.
Yeah.
I mean, we've always been cool to each other, and like I'd see him. He used to come. He comes in he came in at the restaurant I worked in now and then. One time we played. He was in Ghost Heart, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we played in Chicago one time randomly on the same bill as them. We didn't even know.
word.
We didn't even know. We were both like at some bar, and we're like, "What?" Like it's fucking crazy.
That's crazy.
That was like one of the last shows I played with Wildfire. I played drums in that one, I believe.
Oh, okay. That was a weird time.
Yeah, it was us and Ghost Heart and someone else.
That's really funny.
Maybe Sean's band, Sean Stern's
Haunted
band,
Leather?
before he moved to Grand Rapids.
Shape Note.
Because I knew
Maybe,
him.
yeah.
I knew him from when he lived in Chicago too.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Not when I lived there. I don't know how I met him, but we played some shows with them. And Corbin when he was with Corbin.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Sorry about the tangent there, but
No, you're good. Other positives.
This podcast is mostly tangents.
Yeah, it really is. That's the scampy part.
So I mean, that's really it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I would listen to this again.
No, I think I got the idea. And like, that's the thing is like, there are other things that he's trying to achieve that other people are doing better that I could just, if I want to get that sound, I'll just go to that person and not this, unless I'm directly doing it to support Justin. Lower.
Sure. I think that this album deserves to be supported in the way that it's asking to be.
Yes. That's a good way to put it.
And I think that that's going to be my critique of it. This album demands of you exactly what it put up. So, what for better or worse, that's how much I think that like Low Order can reasonably be expected for an audience member to pay attention to it.
I would rate this as only getting in 2 fights with your partner at IKEA?
That's yeah, only 2.
Only 2.
I'm gonna say if you're up to like a fork in the road and there's 2 paths, you go down one path and then you change your mind and but you don't like walk back. You just like cut through and then get to the other path.
Oh, okay, yeah. I know the exact feeling. Hello, all West Michigan artists. If you have any music that you released in 2020, the Band Scamps want to talk about it. We'll give your music the critical and in-depth listen and review that it deserves. Submit your music to bandscamps@gmail.com. Let us help you spread the word about your music. Also, if you have a product or small business that wants to reach thousands of people weekly, we are looking for sponsors. Inquire at bandscamps@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and let's get back to the show.
So we have another record to talk about today.
Yeah, this is a really interesting one in terms of just our relationship with the band and also the format of the record.
Yeah, it really is. And this is a Band Scamps first. This is our first split.
Yeah, first split, but it's a full-length split.
Yeah, full-length split. And you don't often see that. I think it truly is a full-length split. And for those of our listeners that don't know, a split in music terminology, often bands will have a release that is kind of a shared release with another artist. So you might have XYZ. It does a split with ABC, and there's 3 or 4 songs of ABC and 3 or 4 songs of XYZ. And this is very similar, except it's all kind of a single album. It's a full-length album.
A full-length album, and it's very cohesive, too.
Yeah. And the album is Motel, and it is by Pawl and Types.
Yeah,
and
Pawl
it's
is spelled
P-A-W-L, and Types is T-T-Y-P-E-S. And it's a split between the 2 of these artists.
2 brothers.
Yep, they're brothers. And the record is called Motel, and it is a full-length split. So looking at this, it is split up between these 2 artists, and it is a full album.
And it came out early in the pandemic as well, April 17.
This is really early.
Yeah. But from my listen, I'm guessing that this was all made pre-COVID. Kind of similar to Hollywood Makeout that we did last episode.
So let's do like first impressions again. And I think you're right. I think this is a very similar situation to the record that we reviewed last week, Skinny Dipping Scorpion. Did I say that right?
Hollywood Makeout, yeah.
Yeah,
that's right.
by Hollywood Makeout. And it was, the pandemic was not on these guys' horizons, I think, when they were making this record.
Okay, first impressions.
Yeah, man, start from it's so hard, man. Every podcast I listen to that talks about like art form that is sequential time art forms, they always jump to like the end,
it's
or something.
So hard because like
it is,
especially with like full albums too, because you're thinking big picture in a lot
of
ways.
So we got to like really be more considerate to our listeners here, and like so you listener need to listen to this record first. It's on Spotify. It's on Bandcamp. It's called Motel by Pawl/Types. Pawl. I think if you search Motel and Pawl, you'll find it. This is a record that they were obviously planning on just releasing and maybe even promoting and touring in some matter. Yeah. These guys are from Lansing, I think.
Yeah, this is the first band that I do not know.
I don't know them either.
Members.
This is not the first one, but this is one where I definitely don't know them.
So this is exciting for me right away.
Sure, we don't know what to expect. It's really nice to have a blank slate.
Yeah,
and honestly, that
last first.
Yeah, I know, Justin, but I didn't know that was him or what kind of music it was. But I kind of guessed. I don't know why. I kind of figured. I was like, this is probably going to be this kind of music.
Okay. So first impressions, this record is poppy. Yeah.
Track 1, this song has definitely been stuck in my head. Like it's been stuck in my head for quite a while since I've been listening to it. I don't think any of the other songs really had that effect on me yet, but this one definitely is a catchy thing.
Yeah, I think the first few are pretty catchy. This is like very accessible music. I think a lot of people could really just like enjoy this. It's
This track one, so it's a little poppy song. The vocals are great.
It's piano driven.
Piano driven. It's got kind of a Paul McCartney-ish vibe.
Yeah, like
kind
a
of
Ben Folds kind of
yeah,
vibe.
but I think Ben Folds is really apt for this record. I think they probably listen to Ben Folds.
Yeah, like
I
Ben
think
Folds or even like
at
those
least-
early Sean Lennon kind of vibes.
And this appears to be true to the split in which the songs, it's not like Types and Pawl. It's like Types does a song, Pawl does a song, Types does a song, and so on.
Yeah, and it's not like any kind of order.
This starts with the Types. I'm assuming it's Types. I don't think it's T-Types. I'm sure it's Types. So
Yeah, I think it's just Types.
Sure. Good Boy Young. This is a nice little jam.
It is. It's folky, catchy.
I'm gonna have to pull up my notes for these because I listened to this thing twice, and I think I got a different impression both times. The first time I listened to it back here in my plant room where we're taping right now, or where I'm taping. I'm sorry, Dan's in his own house, and I kind of had coffee and smoked a little bit and listened to this just through a little Google Dot speaker, which probably wasn't the best way to listen to this the first time, but I still, it was a good listen.
I listened to this all with headphones, so I was really able to hear the quality of the recording.
Yeah, I think I eventually did switch to headphones on my second listen. I did some nice quality speakers and headphones.
And I actually, for the first half of the record, I sat down and with the Bandcamp page, and I was reading the lyrics along with the songs because from the Bandcamp description, it says that it's a concept record in terms of it's about them growing up in like this kind of unique living situation.
So yes, the first impression I think still wise. We might as well talk about that too. I think we can get into that furthermore, but this does offer at least on the Bandcamp version, it does offer you this extra information that this is a concept record, and it sounds like a concept record.
Yes, lyrically, definitely, and musically, it's very cohesive.
And like that record, that term for concept record, I think might rub some people the wrong way.
Yeah, I think it's kind of has like a weird proggy kind of connotation.
I'm gonna pull that up real quick. Don't mind my clicking. I asked the guy, "Give me your loudest mouse." And he was like, "Right this way, sir." Oh, Bandcamp Friday.
Yes, Bandcamp Friday today.
So if any of you guys can go back in time about 3 weeks and listen to this podcast,
you're gonna want to hit this record up.
You're gonna want this up. Okay, so this thing right away, it's digital. It comes in CD, and on Bandcamp, in the space generally reserved for who plays what, who made the artwork, what label put it out, it does say this is a concept album by brothers Pawl and Tim K, aka Pawl and Types. So not only did we think it was a concept album, we also knew it was. Did you think it was conceptual, or did you already see this info before you started listening?
I saw the info before the listen.
Okay.
And that's usually just kind of the way I operate with most media I consume.
Yeah, you kind of read things. Were you like when I don't buy a whole lot of CDs anymore, but when you were a CD buyer, did you like look at the booklet real hard?
Yeah, I used to be really weird in high school where I would buy a new CD and I would not stop listening to that CD until I had most of the lyrics memorized.
Okay.
Which is weird now because last episode again I talked about how I'm not
You
really
weren't
a
that
lyrics
much of
guy.
yeah.
And I gave that up.
Okay.
So that's why I was trying to be very intentional about reading the lyrics. Thank you to Paul's and Types for including the lyrics.
Yeah, I did not do that. But I pick up lyrics pretty good. As long as I'm like engaged enough to pay attention, I'm gonna pick up the lyrics pretty good.
I think for me, the poppiness is just on like a personal taste level. It's not necessarily like my bag, but again, it's still very catchy and like very well produced. Yeah, so that draws me. The melody and catchiness alone draws me in to continue to go.
And you mentioned production. I agree. The production of this right away is phenomenal.
It's like professional.
And I'm not talking about the songwriting or the composition or any of that or choices, but the way this is recorded is really, really well done. This is probably the best sounding recording we've done so far.
100%. It's tight. It's clean.
I know there's a credit on here recorded by Jupiter something. I Googled that person. I didn't find anything about them. They are a character of the two ladies that wrote The Matrix.
Oh.
They were some other movie they did. This person is a character in that movie. So I don't know. Listeners, if you know who produced this record, let me know. I looked it up. It says Jupiter, produced by Jupiter something. Let me find it on here. Hold on.
Yeah. Maybe it's self-produced and that's just what they go by.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So that's fine.
That's my
I guess that's cute.
guess, or a friend of theirs that just has like resources.
Mixed, produced, arranged, and engineered by Jupiter Jones, except where specified. All performances by Chris Kennedy were recorded by him at his home studio. Mastered by Matt Merman. So this guy's real. I don't know who Jupiter Jones is.
Mm-mm.
So
either way, it sounds great.
Right. Well, it sounds great, but I mean, this is like if it sounds so good that we're talking about it, shouldn't this person Jupiter Jones? People should probably know that.
Yeah.
And if it's like some like pseudonym, like that seems like a real waste.
Yeah. Yeah, listeners, let us know what you think about pseudonyms for producers and what you think that producers can do better to help.
Yeah, I'm gonna obviously be opinionated about that, but I feel so strongly about protecting your own IP, especially as an artist. That if Types or Pawl, if you made this, like own up to it, because like Jupiter, I don't give a shit about Jupiter Jones, but I do want to know if you made this. Exactly.
And if you are Jupiter Jones, great job.
Good job, too.
If you're not,
good job, too. Get an internet presence.
Exactly.
And maybe I'll hire you for an extra. This does sound fantastic. Yes. The drums are good. The guitars are good. There's a guitar track on here that has some like really heavy distorted guitar, and it sounds so good.
I know exactly
crunchy.
What you're talking
it's
about.
So
it's just
like
good.
it's just so crunchy and like you can hear like the ka-chung-chung, and you're like, oh, it's like it's right there. It's not
and that's what I appreciated.
Loud.
They really, again, they have like a cohesive sound, but they are definitely adding like other elements of other genres, I think, really well.
Yeah. So I'm gonna probably, so here's what I think. I think this is all like catchy-ish, but kind of boring.
Yes.
And I think that this reminds me of a lot of music that is like this. It has like, and this might be a little harsh, but it has like the elements of catchiness without actually being catchy.
I know what you mean.
Outside of that first song, I don't really remember much of this except for track 4. I kind of hate it. I hate it so much that it like makes me remember it.
Gotcha.
And I'm reading my notes now, looking at it, and I'm like, oh, this song. So it has a catchiness to it, but I don't think it's an appealing catching.
Yeah, like it's melodically pleasing, but I couldn't sing you a melody from the record.
Right. Something I have written down here is that I wish these guys' talent and songwriting was applied to something more interesting. You know, like it's really, really good. Like you guys, Pawl, Types, I think Types especially. This stuff is really good. Your vocal work is really, really good. Your voices are great. Some of your melodies, your like familiarity with different genres, even like it gets funky kind of a little bit, but really tasteful. But it's just missing the mark on some things, and it's getting really, really, really close to like commercial music.
Exactly.
I don't mean commercial as in like, oh, this sells. I mean like a Burger King commercial,
right?
Or like, I don't know, I'm waiting for the baby xylophone and ukulele and whistle and snaps to come in. Like it's
gotcha.
Just, I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous.
I think for me, like, I stopped reading the lyrics halfway through because I got the record by that point, halfway through. You know, okay. I know what the rest is.
You got the record like thematically?
Yeah. And I just like, and this like, I knew I could like, at that time, I kind of had it pinned down that like the record is not really evolving its sound too much, and I could accurately make a determination that like I could listen more passively.
Yeah. I think that to go along with what you're saying there, I have a note here that says something like, the less I pay attention to this, the more I like it.
Yes. Yep.
Wow. So what does that mean? Like, because you and I both agree then, right? That the less that we pay attention to this, the more we like it.
It's like, following a recipe. Like you have the ingredients to make something really good, and if you follow that exactly, it's going to turn out great, or good at least. But it's not enough to stand out to other people or other recipes. It's so formulaic.
And it's like I think that what maybe is they are coming short is that they don't realize that it's formulaic. Like they might, because I don't even know if formulaic is the word I want to use. I just think it's relying on so many like musical tropes that it's just becoming kind of a caricature of rock music itself. And like when I said, like I was literally waiting for like, where's the toy xylophone? And then all of a sudden, I swear it was like a ding, 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 and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like you guys, careful with that shit, because like it makes me suspect that that's probably what they do for a job, and that's cool and that's fine. But like the more you bring that stuff into your music, that's what modern music's going to sound like. And I don't want our modern music to sound like your commercials that you make. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I know it's really easy. You get a ukulele, you play in C because those fucking little things are in C. You can whistle into it, you can snap into it and make a la la la, and that's it. And you sell that, but don't make that your rock music.
They tiptoed in other genres, but like I needed a little bit more of like variety, I think. And I think that would have helped the concept. And I think I kept on asking, like, how is this music like benefiting the actual story they're trying to tell?
Right.
And like, to me, like, I just didn't care about this story at all. And like, because it was just this kind of bouncy, predictable pop, and it seems like a very significant part of their life if they're doing a whole concept about it. So there had to be other emotions that they could portray, like in a ballad or like a faster, song with more immediacy.
Did it like feel like it was like, because it was a concept album, but like, was it like almost like Wes Anderson-y?
Yeah, it's like a cartoon of itself.
Like, yeah, and that and that's kind of what I talked about last week with happening. That bands can happen. It's hard. But
it is hard.
I listened to a little bit of Types, what they had put out before this. I was curious because some of the production is so strong and their sensibilities are really good. Like, I might not be crazy about the choices they make, but the way they go about making those choices are really, really good.
Absolutely.
And like this person's production is very interesting. If I made music like this, I would want to work with them in some capacity, because this is like very intriguing how they do things. The drums sounded amazing.
So good.
Like, yeah. And like maybe just like, I don't like some of the fills they do, or I don't like where the music goes, or it goes somewhere. I did write, I like this more the second time through. Like, I wrote, this sounds like Why sometimes. Like, it sounds like Why. It sounds like some indie rock. But then again, I write, like there was a track that had a bunch of OOOs, and I wrote all these OOOs make me want to roll my eyes back into my head. Like, I just can't do it. Like, come on.
It's just like, it's very almost like maximalist in a way.
That's a good word. It really... It's exhausting to listen to. There's so much going on.
So much going on. Like, every song is like just these like really lush pianos and guitars and like,
that's exactly the way to put it. There's so much going on.
Yeah, and it's like there were no dynamics in a way.
Yeah, like, do you think you would have enjoyed to hear maybe just a solo piano kind of ballad, or even an acoustic guitar and just a voice,
like,
right?
Yeah, switch up the instrument a little bit.
It was a lot. And so I listened to this twice, and because I was like, you know what, this was enough for me to listen to. And I had noticed that first track was in my head, and I was like, okay, you got a song stuck in my head, and I need to listen to this more for this fucking podcast. So how can I listen to this better? And I did do headphones and that, and I did notice it made me tired listening to it again, but there was a lot to say that was good about it, but then a lot I really didn't like. So it's just kind of uneven.
Yeah. Here's my favorite thing about the record.
Yes, let's do a whole run of positives on that.
Yeah. I really liked that the songs were all like relatively like short-ish.
Okay.
Like I didn't feel like any of the songs dragged on at all, actually. Like I feel like there was quite a few times where I was surprised that the song was ending. And I liked that because it kept things moving.
Okay, what else? Anything else?
No, I have more questions.
Okay, yeah, I have more questions too. So, but let's go.
Yeah.
Let's work through some positives here.
I
I
mean-
wrote nice, clear production. Like
Yeah.
there's no mistaking what they're trying to do. You know, I think that
Right.
they really are. We asked this question before, and you know, we didn't ask this about our previous record on today's episode, but we ask if artists, when they reach for something with these records, if they got there, you know, and do we think they got there? I think partially they did get there with this record.
I think so because I thought to myself, I wish I could see this live.
That was something that I thought too, that I agree with.
You know, like,
Absolutely.
I think like there was a certain energy, and I was like, I bet this would like be really fun to like watch live. And I think that's good. Like that's a success right there. Like if people want to like see you perform, that's like, isn't that like the main goal in a lot of ways?
Right. And this is, I think, you know, as far as records go, this is more akin to like the Brother Wolf record we did, where it was.
Yes.
I even said that I would love to see that record live.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and I said like it would be hilarious. And then I kind of questioned that. I was like, oh, is that the right word? And I was like, no, that's what I think. I think it would be hilarious to see that record. This one, I think would be really fun, especially in the right situation. I like the type stuff better.
Here, I honestly like, I really couldn't tell the difference between the two bands.
I could. I think at first, the first listen, I couldn't, and then I could, and then I kind of like, I listened to it and sat down, and then I guessed what it was, and I'd go up, and I noticed myself guessing types more, and I noticed that the stuff I liked more was types than Pawl.
Gotcha.
And I like the Pawl stuff too. There's more of the types on here than Pawl.
Interesting.
I think it's like 75%.
I guess so maybe we can move on to this question because I think you're probably asking it too.
Let me just
Yeah.
just give me one more scan of positive here.
Yeah, let me
Because there's got to be. I just want to have nice, clear production is like, and I like this more the second time through.
yeah.
And you know what? I think that this is a record that I probably would like the more that I listen to. But that brings up more questions too.
Right.
So
I think for
go
me,
ahead.
the other positive I have is that it has like a relevant feel to it in terms of like this. A lot of these songs could easily be like on TikTok,
Yeah.
you know, and it kind of sounds like that YouTuber Jacob Collier. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's like this kind of like weird, like
tell our
young
listeners, though.
virtuoso musician on YouTube. And
Okay, so he's a music.
he's an
YouTuber.
influencer, kind of. Yeah,
but
YouTube
but
famous.
music specifically.
Yeah, and like he has like perfect pitch, and he just like really understands music and can play really well. But he like writes pop music.
Yeah, this music is not gonna turn anybody off who would be turned off by grit or by, you know, rough around the edges type music. This doesn't really have that. It's got a little bit of rockiness to it, but nothing that's gonna you know, alienate anybody.
Yeah, I think maybe it's our fault for just like this podcast, but like it's interesting to listen to very commercial friendly music while at the same time really trying to like take a look at something very critically in like terms of art.
Yeah, I mean, just because it's poppy doesn't mean it's art. Doesn't mean it's good. And
Right.
so let's. Another positive thing I have was that this band kind of reminds me of Bell and Sebastian a little bit.
Okay.
You know, and I didn't get that at first, and then after a while I was like, you know, this band kind of has that like, you know, ensemble. I mean, I know it's not probably not a band, but these people have put together some music that is ensemble, light rock, very orchestrated. You know, it all kind of fits together in its place. You know, it's kind of like Pawl and Sebastian meets Ben Folds 5. But
Yeah.
I think what these bands do is they're, you know, Ben Folds I never found all that catchy. I kind of don't, I'm not real crazy about their music, but I do like Pawl and Sebastian's like prime era.
Totally.
And what they do really well is just this pop sensibility. The chorus is coming, you're like,
it's
yeah. Well, so is this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's no chorus in these songs. You know, there's no catchy
No.
chorus that reminds me of anything. Or makes me want to sing it, or makes me want
Right.
to really hear it again. But it does it has that sonic quality that is like,
yeah, I would put it up there with like kind of, or like it categories with the same bands of like Keen. Remember Keen?
no.
Like they did that song.
I remember the
Somewhere-
name.
Somewhere Only We Know.
Okay.
Or like it's just, if to me it's very like kind of like 2005 2007 kind of pop, like Keen or like Aqualung.
Yeah.
Or
I mean,
something that could be on like the OC soundtrack.
it sounds like stuff. I don't know that it has the pop chops for that. You know, like I think that sonically it sounds there. I don't know if the songs are there on a basic level. You know,
I know it. I know what you mean. It's like on a more like a songwriting level, not necessarily like the sonic level.
yeah,
But on like the craft of songwriting.
it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like, it's not like I want to listen to this or I want to dance to this in my wedding or whatever, you know?
Right. Yeah, because there's not necessarily like a hook to grab onto.
Right. So that might be enough of the positive stuff, I guess, for the run of positivity we tried here with this. You said something that the songs were like not too long. I felt like they were kind of long.
And maybe that was just because now that you mentioned that there's not like really choruses in a lot of the songs, that might have been kind of like the illusion of a short song is like,
maybe,
you know what I mean? It's just like it just kind of goes and then like there's no like necessary repetition of like phrasing, I guess. But again, second half of the record, I was, listening to it in headphones while like putting lights up in my room.
Yeah,
I got
think
distracted at times.
that happened to, and then I think I was working on something too, where I was working and I was listening on my speakers, but I ended up liking it more. But I still was able to. I was taking notes. I wrote like, "Is this too complex?" And I wrote, "This is sort of a slog and starting to feel like a job." And
It's a long record.
That I think is dangerous too.
Yeah, it's 15 songs.
Okay.
That's a long record for.
That's
like,
a long
modern
record if
times.
they're not 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
And these are not 2 minute long songs. These are
these are on, like,
3:30,
3:54,
4:30. Yeah. Almost 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's them reining it in. Probably
Yeah,
they could probably just go off.
they could just jam on those. Yeah.
So, like, I wrote, I have attention fatigue now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is like you said the same thing. It kind of gets to you a little bit. I'm kind of like, oh man, I have attention fatigue. It's like playing a chess game, and like halfway through, you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore.
Right. I guess my biggest question is,
Let's do it.
did this need to be a split?
Oh no, probably not.
That's where I'm going to. Like,
Do you think Types is the more established artist in this scenario?
I really don't know, because again, I really had a hard time differentiating the two, and I thought they should have just maybe cut some of the fat and maybe just gone under a different name altogether.
Yeah, I like that idea. I don't even know if the fat needed to be cut. I think the last track was pretty pointless.
Yes.
And I kind of I'll admit I kind of skipped ahead to like 15 seconds, skip ahead. And I got made fun of for doing this with a jam band. But this jam band played a show and I watched the whole hour of it and I skipped ahead 15 seconds the whole time. And it was like at every moment it was stupid. And I was like, what do you want me to do? Like,
yeah.
Like, are the moments I'm not hearing amazing? Because that's probably not true. So
Not for an hour.
no. And so maybe you're right. Trim some of the fat and call it something else. Call it Motel. Call it the Motel Boys.
Exactly.
Right?
You know, like I listened to the record and then I looked back at like the track listing and I was like, this is just one band. Like, what's the, why is this a split? Is this like some kind of ego thing?
Man, I don't think it's an ego thing. I think it's a tread lightly because they're brothers thing.
Yeah.
You know, from what I've like gathered from brothers in bands, it's a really, or musical partners, whatever. It's a really, really tense situation, you know, and it can fall apart. One time, I'm not gonna name who it is, but they had rehearsal and the cops showed up and they're both brothers came outside and they're like, oh, good, you're here. Both
of them called the cops on each other.
Both brothers had called the cops on each other during.
Oh my God!
During it was the. I'll just tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, I already knew. Like,
but yeah. Is that hilarious that they like the cop showed up?
Shit.
The fucking cop showed up and they both come out the door and they're like, "Thank God you're here."
Oh my God, like, that is the funniest.
Like,
shit
I'm so
ever.
glad you're here. I'm the one who called.
Oh my God, those brothers are too much.
So brothers in bands, it's already tense. So
it's
this is a perfect segue to what I want to talk about too. Is that we know it's a concept album. And like, I like the theme and conceptual nature of it, but are we now forced to evaluate this differently because it's a concept album? Or do you think we are?
We are 100%. I
kind of want to be free to just evaluate this on its own terms, right?
Yes.
So, but we can't.
No.
Okay.
But here's the thing. It's like,
I don't know why that's fun. No.
It's just, you know, like the concept, like at first read, I was like, interesting concept. Like they grew up in like this motel, or abandoned motel. I was like, that sounds crazy.
Oh, and totally.
But you know,
I actually got that just from listening to it. I was like, I think they might have like lived like attached to a motel, and that is the scenario.
They are very literal at times. To me, like reading the lyrics and listening to the lyrics, I didn't care.
Yeah.
You know, like, and they would throw in too many generic, like, you know, things about like hinting at like maybe that it's about a girl or something.
Right.
And I'm just like,
or like one song was like, oh, it's about a weird guy, but nothing happens. And it's like kind of a party vibe, but kind of not. And like, yeah.
Like, why
I think you're right. Why?
Why is it important to tell this story like for your like personal benefit? You know, like because that's when you're making music. You're like you want to tell the story because it means something to you.
Sure.
But what does it mean to you? It doesn't mean anything to you from what I can hear. Except that it's like a party story.
That's interesting too because they want us to think it means something, right?
Right. Inherently it does by calling the record Motel. Mm-hmm. You know, and explicitly saying this is a concept record.
Right. That's a thing that I wish I didn't see.
Same.
I kind of was like, I kind of wish I hadn't seen that it said that, you know?
Yeah, because I'm looking, that's on my mind right away. Every song, it's like concept.
Yeah, I wrote here like context is important, so I guess it's a good idea to get that out of the way as a concept. You know that like that the context is totally important, I guess. And there are records that are beloved that are concept records that are like, and that's always been like but it's also like a kind of a joke, right?
Yeah,
it's kind of like. Oh, a concept record. I feel like that's like one of the oldest jokes in rock and roll history, you know.
Exactly.
At least in like the oldest joke in classic rock history.
Yeah,
maybe
it's like a gimmick,
maybe like
you know?
1970 and now. That's like every band makes their concept record and it's like kind of funny. There are good ones. That Kinks one, the Lola one is really good.
Very good.
All of the Village Green, the Muswell Hillbillies, all those records are good.
I mean, the Who Tommy.
Yeah.
Is like
a few Who albums. Thin Lizzy, Jailbreak, I think is probably a concept album. But then you get into like Mr. Roboto, right? And like, okay, that's a concept album, but who was asking for that? At least Motel is not like that. Like right. Motel's not like off the deep end.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I feel like they almost sacrificed sentimentality for catchiness.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think that his catchiness is really good. I think the vocals are really, really cool.
Yeah, they have interesting and like good voices.
Yeah, they are. I think that it reminds me kind of a comedy album sometimes too. Like the voices are kind of funny. They have a bit of a ween nature to them as well too.
It's also but kind of like a Christian-y kind of vibe too.
Yeah, I got that vibe too. Overall, I just think it's really uneven.
Yeah.
And I also like all these records in 2020. There's going to be a good majority of them, or a good portion of them at least, that were intended to be released, and then you play shows and promote, and just like we have a normal summer, and that didn't happen for this record.
No, and it probably would have done a lot better had it been normal circumstances.
Yeah, and that's not their fault. So,
No.
and you can't control that. Something that a line that on the Bandcamp that stuck with me, I looked. It said written and produced over 10 years, or something like that.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that statement? Did you have a reaction to it?
I was just like, well, first of all, I was like, how old are these guys?
Yeah, okay.
10 years is a long time.
Yeah, okay. So that was you did get a reaction.
It seemed like hyperbole.
I thought it was weird too, and I was like, well, like in what capacity? Like did you start recording this 10 years ago? Because that is that.
Or
but,
did
like,
you
write
did you
these
move
songs?
out at 10 years ago or something? Or like
I don't know.
I almost think it's like maybe it's like trying to be funny.
I'm 30. I don't think they're trying to be funny.
I don't know.
That's what I wondered. There was
either.
that came up in my notes too. Like, are these guys trying to be funny? I don't think they are. But I don't know about that, and so that I feel like straight up rubbed me the wrong way. Like I honestly don't give a shit how many years it took you to make something.
Right.
No offense. Like you can tell me if you want to when you recorded it, but probably shouldn't even do that. And I think that was really interesting. And that was one of the last things I read about this band. I think I read that and I was like, I don't want to know anything else about this.
Yeah, well, it doesn't enhance your experience. Not every piece of information has to do that, but
no, I think everyone could do without that.
Yeah.
Looks like there's quite a few people on this record.
Yeah, and I think that's probably how they were submitted. I think we know maybe a couple people as like the Motel players.
Yeah, I saw a couple people on here. There's a couple names that were from Grand Rapids, Conrad Schock, Sean McGinty, and those are only the two that I saw.
Same.
So those are local Grand Rapids people that I know of. That's very cool, and that was probably all recorded in 2019, maybe early 2020.
Exactly. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe at home.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
What else? Do you have anything else to say about this record? Just off the top of your head? I'm just going to scan my notes and see this.
I really don't. I think we touched on a lot with this one.
Yeah. The last thing I had
There's
was
a lot to talk about, but
the big thing I have, I guess this is the final question I have about it is like, can this album stand on its own without all of these labels and qualifications?
I think it can.
I think so too. And I think this is actually overall, and all things negative I'm saying about this, it's still pretty good.
It's I think it's a good record, but maybe not my bag, or maybe there's some like artistic differences, but overall I think like they did a good job putting out a pop record.
Yeah, I think so too. And I could even see this idea expanded upon more, and their next one being very strong when they tighten up some of the stuff, because who knows how long this took, and maybe it was like, oh, I got this, and they're brothers, maybe it was a real slog trying to get one brother to work on it, or this, or and it's all touch and go. And I would love to see these ideas maybe expanded better, tightened up, maybe take a minute off your song and put some better choruses in there, and then I think you have some really good music. Yeah,
exactly. And like, just if you're going to make a concept record, I feel like you just got to go all in and really and really just embrace it.
Right. I didn't need to know this was a concept record. I think I would have. It would have been more fun to discover that it was rather than to be told it was.
Yeah, I think I was just distracted by a concept record done by brothers, but who want to go by different band names. still.
Yeah. You know, that really didn't bother me, but I can totally see how that would. It's so crazy, man. It's so crazy like that. Like so much of even how our brains work about music, it's only a little bit about the music, and the rest of it is like all this extra baggage. And maybe like as artists, we got to like be careful about what baggage we throw out to our audience members.
That's true. I think, we have a certain obligation to be objective and to be focused, but I think at the same time, we went into this kind of knowing that we have strong opinions.
Yeah, and I don't know if like because these guys don't really know us, like I hope they know that what we are saying about their work is meant like with 100%. We want you guys to like succeed. You know,
And
like
yes,
it does me no joy to tear something down.
No.
And I don't think that we've done that with this record. I think that
Absolutely
we're pointing
not.
out are very, very valid things, and probably all things that you guys know in the deep down, Pawl and Types. You guys know the stuff already that we're saying.
exactly.
So it will make it easier for you guys to understand that, but also for listeners, like what we're saying about this. If you disagree, please let us know. Like, because this is all kind of an open discussion, and these bands of this level don't often get to have discussion about their work.
Right.
I mean,
So I feel honored
We're
that-
we're at least over an hour, you know, talking about two records. You know,
I wish
most people don't do that.
I wish people talked for a half hour about our records.
Yeah, but give me more than one sentence, then I'll be blown away.
You know,
You know,
exactly. You know, but maybe people just don't have anything to say about our records.
that's fine. I would rather
that's okay.
if I don't, but like we
doubt
still
it,
crave
though.
it, you know. Yeah. Oh yeah, if they had to.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to listen to it like it's your job.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, like if Pawl and Types, you come to Grand Rapids and you're playing a show, I will be there because I want to see this live.
100%. Would you recommend this record?
I would recommend this record.
You know, I would too. I think there's people that I know like this kind of music. I think the people that I work with musically who produce me would probably get a kick out of the recording quality.
Yeah,
it's really
absolutely.
good. It's phenomenal.
Very good.
So whoever recorded
Very
this too is 100%. This is the best sounding record that we've gotten so far.
Is there any kind of like comparison to the two records that we talked about today?
You know, I think that there is going to be inevitably one. Listeners, we paired up these records. I just hit random a bunch of times on the spreadsheet until something lightened up that made sense to me, and then we just went with that. So, I wasn't really expecting anything out of both these records. I think they both can benefit from the same. Both these artists can benefit from the same. Just kind of tighten it up. Philosophy. What you are doing that works well, that you know works well, you probably just need to do more of.
Exactly. Yeah. Just like dive deeper to the point where you're challenging your ideas.
Yeah.
And in the sense, they're both conceptual records.
Yeah.
You know, like no low order. They're trying to, explore sound, explore the concept of
Sure.
what is music,
That's a question too. Do we think that we didn't ask about Low Order? Did Low Order get there with their record? Did they?
I think
they were reaching for
right
something
at the last song when the bass and drums came
Yeah.
in. I think that's when it really reached where it needs to go.
I like that too, and I like track 4.
Yeah.
I think so. I think it maybe kind of got there, but I think that it took so long that might discount it a little bit.
Exactly. Real quick, back to Pawl and Types, though.
Sure.
My rating, I just want to leave with.
Oh yeah, we gotta do our reading. Yep.
I would rate this as like a freshly sweeped and like freshly cleaned, like Ford Ranger.
Ford Ranger, like the truck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
This is like a nice hand, like a garden hose, nice garden hose wash of a Ford Ranger.
Okay. I'm gonna say crown molding.
Ooh, okay.
This record was available on Spotify, I believe, right? The Pawl Types.
I don't know actually.
I think it is. I think this one was. This seems to me like one they were going to release. Like they've released it all. It's on CD and stuff.
Yeah, and again, we'll have links to this wherever these albums are streamed in the description.
It's on Spotify. Anything else you want to say about these records? I think that's pretty much all I got.
You know, at the end of the day, we're just two scamps.
Yeah. That's all.
That's all
we are.
So,
like a devil in a diaper.
Exactly. Just take what you hear, knowing that it comes from two scamps.
Yeah.
With one podcast.
Listeners, send us an email at bandscamps@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, and we're going to get some other stuff going too. We'll probably have those going. We got a website too, bandscamps.com.
Yeah, it's all coming. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Have a great week.
This has been a Grand Rhapsody production. Executive produced by Dan Fisher and Julio Gomez.